idea about a current event, an occurrence in Japan. An individual has died. What you're looking at is something that someone built in Japan for the purpose of committing a violent act. And this is as it was being dropped by him. The person who did it is not relevant, although his name will be mentioned, but it's not the relevant point. As you can see, it's made out of pipe. It has what are sometimes called low-profile end caps. There are holes in the back. It looks a lot like a pipe bomb or a pair of pipe bombs. It has apparently a battery pack, some wires, and the triggers were probably push-button switches for electrically connecting igniters like you would use for either a toy rocket or something homemade from, let's say, Christmas tree lights, old-style ones, as an electrically ignited double-barreled gun. Probably configured as a shotgun, but it could fire at a single projectile as well. And that's what it looked like on the ground. Yet Tetsuya Yamagami shot Shinzo Abe because he believed he was connected to the Unification Church and or Moonies that he claimed brainwashed and bankrupt his mother. No, this doesn't make sense. Crazy doesn't have to make sense. I doubt that Abe had anything to do with anything associated with him, but maybe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this person read a bunch of conspiracy theories on the internet. I wouldn't be surprised if that drove this person to it. I want to recommend everybody listen for just a second here. Me debunking conspiracy theories and explaining to you that you've been lied to by conspiracy theory purveyors, and explaining that a lot of them do it either for purely the entertainment of it all, or just to have power over people, or in some cases to try to get people to do terrible things, isn't just me, shaking a stick at things. This is a real problem, okay? And I'm not sure what this individual had consumed as far as news or fake news, or if this has anything to do with it. But the individual did not make any attempt to get away, really. He shot twice at the former prime minister and killed him with a second shot going through his chest, using what looks like a double-barrel sawed-off shotgun style design. And it was done in a way that, if you're not aware of it, yes, this is illegal in Japan, and in the United States, no, this isn't. This would be considered a muzzleloader. This would be considered an electrically triggered musket. In fact, it's referred to as a musket-style design on Wikipedia, and I don't have any reason to argue with this. It's probably an accurate assessment. And I want to point out, I'm not going to state anything about gun control. That's not relevant at this point. The individual who did this, the main thing is the individual who did it. Why the person did it has to do with the Moonies or Unification Church or something. And you need to understand that I really don't believe a person can become psychotic and violent and angry and murderous unless they live in a world where rational communication and being able to talk to somebody and find out that they're wrong and being able to accept it. If you don't exist in a world where you can be told you're wrong, he has nothing to do with the Moonies or whatever the hell you need to be told, and or don't hurt anybody, it won't do you any good. If you are in a mental state where you can't listen to reasonable thoughts and reasonable communications, this is the kind of crap that's going to happen. Now, this is a country that heavily regulates firearms, and the most common firearm in Japan for a person to own legitimately and be able to at least transport, at least in a very limited way, would probably be an ordinary shotgun. So this is not far off from what you would expect probably would happen. And as you can tell, obviously it was effective at taking out his opponent, or even if it was just a perceived one. If you know of anyone who has isolated themselves and lives in their own little world on the internet and doesn't have the ability to come up for air once in a while and realize that it's all just BS on the internet unless otherwise noted, and you should always assume it's BS, and especially if they're talking themselves into a position where they won't listen and they become increasingly rage-filled and lash out at people, specific groups or not, doesn't matter. You're dealing with someone who's a powder keg, and this can happen. Okay. And people are immediately going to latch onto this in the United States for whatever BS they want to go into. I'm very sad that a person died, and I'm very sure that there was no justification for this. If this individual, Tetsuya Yamagami, if this individual had sat down and talked to somebody reasonable and was receptive to hearing, Mr. Yamagami, you are wrong, and here's why, and the person could rationally self-criticize and find out that they were wrong about their assertions or assumptions, this probably wouldn't have happened. Most people who accept that their strongly held beliefs could be wrong and should be reassessed at every once in a while, people who think that way generally don't do terrible things like this. Measured, rational thought is very good. People who say otherwise, you should watch out for it. That's all I have to say about it. And I also want to point out that they went to his house and found that is a 9-barrel electrically triggered shotgun. And again, because of the way the previous one was built, that one would very likely not be illegal in the United States. I want to point that out. For whatever it's worth. Anyway, that's him dropping the firearm after using it. He made a overbore pistol, probably configured it as a shotgun, but don't know. That's what happened. And the primary functions that caused this problem, as far as we know, is number one, him being able to build it. That's one assessment. And number two, him believing something about someone that probably wasn't really even marginally true or based in reality at all. Not even a little fragment of it, but I don't know. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with all that.